poker's legendary champions, next generation stars, and tireless ambassadors of the game, sharing their wisdom and guiding your journey to high achievement on the green felt. This is Tactical Tuesday on Chasing Poker Greatness with your host, Brad Wilson.
Welcome, my friend, to another episode of Tactical Tuesday. Today, I am joined, shockingly, by my co-host, Jon.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, they'll let just anybody co-host Tactical Tuesday these days. So let's set up today's show for the CPG listener. What's the thread? What's the theme?
Not too much of a theme strategy-wise between the two hands. They're two hands from 2KNL that I played recently. Been trying to mix in shot takes at 2KNL here and there. I don't know, just feeling especially confident about my game these days, given how effective the wolf strats have been working, or how effectively the wolf strats have been working. So, yeah, sure. Here are a couple hands from the highest stakes on Ignition Bovada.
Yeah, I've heard through the grapevine that you've been playing some live poker as well at the Commerce Casino.
Yes. Wolf strats also work live. I report.
Yeah, at LAPC's going down right now, right?
Yeah, so there's been some pretty good action pretty much every day at Commerce. I've only been playing for like the last 2 days, but kind of just eyeing the number of games on Bravo. Just probably the best action that's been in LA since the pandemic. So just trying to get in there and mix it up with some live poker. I've actually been having a good time. I think I just taking a break from the online grind is good. Doing it once in a while.
Yeah, going back to your original haunts, being a live poker player now.
Yeah.
Now that you've experienced online poker in all of its glory for the past couple of years, what's the feeling playing live poker? Going from live poker to online poker, and now from online poker to live poker again.
Playing live poker is like going on vacation. Yeah.
Going on vacation where you win money.
Yeah, paycation.
Paycation. There you go. Hopefully you can play some big pots in live poker and in the 2K streets this year. We can have our yearly report like we did a couple of episodes ago of your biggest winning and losing pots. And yeah, let's get some at least 5 figures in there this year.
Yeah. Hopefully, hopefully I can win one of those 5-figure pots this year.
You had a 5-figure losing one last year, but no 5-figure winning one. So let's even up the score a little bit.
All right, so let's start with this hand. I'm in the small blind, ace of clubs, queen of diamonds. The fish at the table, who's in the cutoff, opens to $40. Just assuming he's a fish since he starts with 50 big blinds in a stack. I 3-bet to $160. The big blind folds, and the fish calls. Really, really good flop. Ace 3, 2 hearts. Gonna be c-betting small on this board with most of my range. That's what I go ahead and do. C-bet 1/3. Fish calls. And the board double pairs on the turn, so it's now an ace 3/3 board with 2 flush draws. I think this is kind of the decision point for the hand, or probably the biggest decision point for the hand. Betting, checking, check jamming, like all of those questions.
Yeah, a lot of options on the table, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I would just check. I think with SPR 1.5, give villain an opportunity to bet with their lower equity hands that they have in range, and also if they have a hand like pocket 5s or 6s or 7s, we can reduce, eliminate one street if it goes check, and then just bet the river for value against those hands. I think they may have some trouble holding up facing like 2 more bets. So basically, the hands that villain wants to play for 2 more bets that are good hands, you're chopping with all of them and losing to quads. And then the bad hands that want to play for 2 bets are pretty much all of their floats or bluffs. And then the other hands that they have in range, you probably just want to play for 1 bet. And so given that's the situation, giving them a chance to put 2 bets in with their bluffs just makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, that was my thought process as well in this hand. I think like you mentioned early on, the SPR makes our decision significantly easier. Like we don't have to be overly concerned with finding creative ways to get all the money in. We can just kind of either let him hang himself or value bet the river for 1.5x. Well, I don't think I would actually do that, but if we wanted to, like that wouldn't be that crazy. But yeah, I think these like double paired boards, especially I think maybe newer players or lower stakes players, I think are might have some questions about like how to play everything from like top boat to like anything that's not top boat in these hands or in these spots. So while it's like a pretty, I don't know, I think for you and me, it's probably a very simple decision to check this turn. Might not be as apparent to everyone else.
Yeah, I mean, there's one way to get there are 2 ways to get value, right? Villain has to have a hand that pays you off when you have a really good hand, or villain has nothing and tries to make you fold when you have a really good hand.
Right.
And getting value from that second portion of their range is just quite an important thing to consider when, deploying any sort of value bet strategy that you have.
Right.
So you check, and now the villain bets a third here on the turn. Options would be to check jam or check call. I think that given what we've just discussed about the type of hand that they have here, it being either nothing or a chop, that calling seems like the real only reasonable option.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. We just don't want to. We want to make sure he puts in the rest of his money with like his heart hands or spade hands that float the flop. And those hands are all certainly going to fold if we either raise or jam over this bet. So just keep giving villain rope to bluff.
Yeah. I mean, they don't even necessarily have to be hearts or spades. It could be king, queen off. Or
Right.
just some random thing that they decide to call versus the flop 1/3 with.
Yeah. I think that's like one of the benefits that gets kind of under talked about the flop 1/3 is like it forces villains to continue with a really, really wide range, especially when they're in position. And
I think when it's like a weaker player, it's not much of a force type situation. It's an enticement.
Yeah.
You're like, ooh,
hey, this is smaller than what I think 3-bet-2 pre-flop like.
Yeah, I think I should call this. Let's see what I can do on the turn.
Okay, maybe that's how it works. Against regs, it's definitely I'm pretty confident it's like get them to the turn really wide and force them to bluff. But
yeah,
maybe different against fish. I'm really impressed that this guy found the sizing, to be honest, for a weaker player. Like I would not have expected them to bust out the 1/3. I think it's a really, really good size. Just to his credit. Maybe he's not as bad as we thought, but
well, I mean, nothing really about this hand like really indicates that they are a specifically like super weak player.
Yeah.
When we look at it total. So you call the turn. The villain has 705. The board is ace 3-3. 2 hearts on the turn. There's 882 in the pot. Villain has 705. The river is the king of hearts, so it completes the front door flush draw. You have villain covered here. And again, like we were saying, just sort of checking, giving them a chance to put the rest of the money in with the weaker portion of the range, which they go ahead and oblige. And then I'm guessing it's a pure call here. We're not folding the full house. Yeah, I mean, that's quite nitty of you.
Could have threes. I'll get threes.
Or quite loose of you, actually. Quite loose to just be calling here every time. But so you call, and villain shows the 4-5 of spades, which, going back to like what I was just saying about nothing about this hand really indicates that the player's like super out of line. I mean, I think every decision they made is like okay. It's not like crazy here, and the hand that they have, I think, makes a lot of sense.
I think everything they did post flop was actually like really well played. I would say pre flop might be the one place where we can maybe point to him being a weaker player. I think especially at 50 bigs, peeling the 3-bet with 5-4 suited is a little too wide for me.
We're four-handed. They open min, and you 3-bet. You 3-bet 4x. I don't know. I could justify it, but
yeah. To be fair, I'm not floating 4-5 suited.
yeah.
So I'm just
There you go. Yeah, so maybe this player wasn't such a weak player at all, but either way, the plan worked versus both stronger and weaker players. Giving people a chance to put money in when they have very little equity is like an okay plan. It's a thing that can make some money. So now we're going to segue to the break, and hand number 2. I can't really remember hand number 2 at all if you want to set it up.
My hand is not very good on the river in hand number 2. All the money still goes in.
All right, so stick around for that.
You've survived pre-flop boot camp. You've shot the fish in a barrel. Now, prepare yourself for the feeding frenzy. A comprehensive strategy for gutting every fish in your player pool. Data-driven hero bluffs, light calldowns, and perfect value bets that are maximally designed to hurt some feelings. Feeding Frenzy. Available now at chasingpokergreatness.com/feeding frenzy.
All right, welcome back from the break, and we have hand number 2 sitting in front of us. And before we dive into the second hand here, just want to let you know that still taking application for the Wolves program. I believe there is 1 or 2 slots that remain available at cpgwolves.com. If you want to apply, feel like you're ready to take that step. And with that little Wolf plug here, now let's dive into this second hand where you got an ace and a 5, and apparently you're not going to make much with it, but I don't think that's ever stopped you from putting all the money in.
It does not here. Yeah. So I opened to $50 in the cutoff. We're playing 4-handed again. Ace 5 of spades, like Brad said. The big blind 3-bets to $220. 11 big blinds. I think that's completely the expected size. I just did a
stack size.
Yeah, I just did a HUD stat check on the big blind because of his stack size, and can't really tell. He's playing 17, 14, 9 over 60 hands, which is a little bit on the tight side, but I mean, if you force me to categorize him, I'd say reg.
Yeah. All right. So we have a quote unquote reg on the tight side who 3-bets that doesn't have a full stack for some reason. I mean, not having a full stack, I mean, like in the big blind, you could just like have played the previous hand, gotten 3-bet, called, check folded flop, and just not gotten to reload. So, I mean, you know, because Ignition still doesn't have auto top off. Ignition, come on. We need the auto top off.
Yeah.
What year is it? Yeah, so you flat. There's 450 in the pot. Villain has 1,500 basically behind. You have them covered. Flop is Jack 10 9 with the Jack 10 of hearts and the 9 of spades. So we got back doors. Baby. Villain bets a third, and I'm guessing you don't fold.
I do not fold. I honestly don't know about this call. Like when I do my hand reviews, when I look over my hands, one thing that I've noticed recently is that I seem to be floating this spot very, very, very frequently and very, very wide. Like this is like, you know, ace 5 of spades, like it seems like really, really reasonable compared to like a lot of the other hands that I've seen myself calling this bet with. And sometimes I even like float when they bet like half pot, you know, like that's where I'm like, okay, maybe I really need to start making some changes, especially versus half pot. Versus a third, I feel good about ace 5 of spades.
As a human being that has seen your progression as a poker player from up close over the past year and a half, I could say that like I like this development of like floating too much versus folding too much. It's just diametrically opposed to like how you used to play flops, which is just kind of funny to me.
I'm
Like
pretty sure like a year and a half ago or whenever we started coaching up, I might have just folded this swap.
I remember specifically, not that long ago, maybe 7 or 8 months ago. It was like we were looking at some of the hands that I played, and you're like, wow, you'd never fold the flop. Like, do you ever fold to like any sort of bet? I'm like, dude, they're betting like a third. What do you want me to do? Like, and now here we are.
Dude, they're betting like a third. Yeah.
What do you want me to do? All right, so you defend, and you get a beautiful turn here. The 8 of hearts, which still gives you nothing and doesn't upgrade your flush draw. And there's a 4-liner on the board now. So
Please check.
And they check.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I expect big blind maybe to be checking even range on this turn. Like, it's such an equity shifting turn that I think finding a bet here might be. It would be so hard to come up with like a coherent like betting and checking range in this line and on this particular turn that I think it's very reasonable for the big blind to be checking range and just figure it out from there. So not surprised to see him check. The fact that he's checking range makes me sorry.
I was gonna say we didn't even talk about the fact that like they bet the flop on this board, which typically indicates that they have some kind of hand.
Yeah. That's a good point. Like very dynamic connected board that like maybe they're not betting hands like. It would be reasonable not to bet aces or kings or something, right? On this.
Yeah, or ace jack or king jack or those type of hands. So just wanted to point that out that like they did see bet this board. I do think that does indicate that they have like some sort of connectivity with the board.
Okay.
But
yeah, just going back to the
not going to stop you.
Yeah, just you bet a third, dude. Anyways, so the fact that he checks and that I expect him to check range doesn't make me feel particularly confident about just blasting off in this spot. Like they're just gonna have they're gonna have flushes, they're gonna have queen X, they're gonna have king queen sets and like aces with a heart that are just lots of hands in there that are very, very strong and are gonna be able to call play for all the money. But that didn't stop me. So here we go.
The man is not deterred. He did not call the 1/3 flop bet to start checking it down. So you bet 427, leaving them with about 1,000 behind. There's 1,600 in the pot. And so the hands that you were hoping they had on the turn, maybe some sets or 2 pair, they all get promoted pretty much on the river. River's the jack of diamonds. So the board is jack, jack, 10, 9, 8. I will say, I guess like 8, 9 and 9, 10, those don't get promoted.
No.
So, but jack 10, jack 9, those hands do. Pocket 10s, pocket 9s, pocket 8s, those hands turn into full houses.
Jacks.
Well, yeah. That makes quads, but there's only one combo of those. So villain checks here, and seemingly without villain having a hand that can fold. I had this sneaking suspicion that you did not check behind.
I did not check behind. I was not feeling great about this bluff though, especially on I sort of like a little bit of internal panic, like what am I targeting now to fold. Funny story, like maybe 5 hours before we reviewed this hand, I was doing a hand review of hands that I played with Shu, the associate coach for Chasing Poker Greatness, and we ran into a really similar spot like this where I was bluffing and then the board paired on the river, and then I panicked and thought like, wow, there's nothing I can, like what am I even repping, right? Like what am I saying that I had on the turn that wants to play for it all on the river suddenly? Like I got into that spot, and for like the one time in like the entire hand review, I didn't pull the trigger on a bluff. I just gave up with like king high or something like that. And the guy had like ace high spades that missed, just like break spades and check back. And she was like, dude, you gotta bluff these spots. But I know, like, you think like they don't have hands that can fold, but they always have hands that can fold. Like you gotta go for it. You can't not pull the trigger in the spot. So like the same spot, like very similar board, very similar situation. Just 5 hours later, I was like, I don't know what I'm hoping to fold. I don't know what I'm repping, but I just learned about this, so.
Shu just ripped me a new one for a very similar spot. And the good news is, you can just blame Shu if everything goes to hell in a handbasket, I guess.
Yeah, I've done that.
Yeah, that's the built-in, the built-in relief valve. So villain checks, you go for it, and the villain tank, and they fold. It went through. It went through, and we'll show what they have.
Maybe there's some hands they fold, like aces with the ace of hearts. Some good hands.
Yeah.
I mean, not hands like this.
Ace of hearts and the king of spades is what they ended up folding here. So they turned the nut flush draw, check called turn, and folded the river. I think their line is a little sus here with the ace of hearts, king of spades.
What do you mean? I mean, I don't love it either, but I wonder if we're thinking about this.
Well, I mean, like they could check raise all in on the turn.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking too.
I don't know that I love them calling the turn. Like, what did you bet on the turn? Like close to half pot. I mean,
more.
Yeah. Oh, more than half pot. Yeah. I think it's just stick it in, man. Stick it in and hope for the best. Right? Isn't that the
What's the worst that could happen? You have ace king. You have a gut shot in the nut flush draw. Like what?
Yeah. See, that's the mantra for Tactical Tuesday. Just stick it in. Hope for the best.
If you don't stick it in and hope for the best on the turn, I'll do it on the river.
Exactly. It's just it's a game of chicken, and the first person to stick it in and hope for the best wins. In this case, you did win. So adventures in 2K&L land going well this month, and hopefully continues, and hopefully we'll have some more 2K&L hands to break down on Tactical Tuesday, and maybe some live poker hands from LAPC.
Yeah, more likely live hands next week than 2K hands, given how much fun I've been having playing live. So
yeah. Well, looking forward to it, man. And best of luck in the streets. And I think we've said everything that needs to be said for this episode of the show.
See you next week. I don't even need to be prompted anymore.
Thanks for listening to Chasing Poker Greatness. You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts or on your favorite podcast app. Go to chasingpokergreatness.com to get the newsletter, join the Greatness Village community, book a coaching session, or dive into the latest data-driven poker courses. Follow the show on Twitter @CPG Podcast.